It's May 2024, and I'd like to start off this video by thanking everyone who's been following me. Some people have been following me for over a decade, and a special thank you to them, and thank you to those who've been following me over the years. And I would like to welcome new people to my content. Thank you for taking the time to learn, and if you are new and you haven't checked out the introduction video to my channel, go check that out, because it does give a very brief overview of the primary focus of my content, as well as giving some examples of independent evidence to support all that. Now, I'd like to start off by saying that politicians make laws usually based on feelings, and judges, the courts, interpret the laws usually based on bias. Now, I'm setting aside, for example, any types of agendas or anything else like that, just looking at it as a descriptive superficially. And this is how the legal system works, and a lot of people don't realize that. For example, people might think, oh, well, we'll just make a law and then, paradise follows. Well, we get into nonsensical laws, for example, micromanaging people and everything else, and that paves the road to tyranny and everything, but that's not really the focus here. People just assume that laws are made and that's it, and the courts have to kind of follow the laws, but people don't realize that the courts interpret the laws. So somebody might, for example, hear of a law that's been passed and think, oh, this is good, and then wonder why the courts are not upholding that law, not realizing that the courts interpret the law. So there might be complete opposite outcome that maybe people were expecting. And it should be noted that just because somebody, a layperson, reads law, say a criminal code or something, that they understand what it actually means, because words in law have different meanings than, say, to a layperson. And so when somebody reads something, say a new law has been passed, they're interpreting it through their knowledge of language as a layperson. And then we're setting aside, for this, keep it simple, people's not lacking, for example, they're lacking critical thinking skills, extensive knowledge base, and not being able to separate their emotions when making conclusions. But anyway, I talk about that quite a bit. But because of laws being passed and interpretations of laws, doesn't mean that, and we see this today, that crimes and everything have stopped. In fact, the whole system has proven itself not to be working. But I'm not saying we don't need laws. We do, or there would be total chaos. But the way everything is structured, hasn't really stopped anything, or especially the way the world's been turning around in the past few years. It's just kind of gone insane a little bit. But anyway, I'm digressing. But because of laws being passed and interpretations of laws, and then we can start to filter in agendas, and again, people who are judging, prosecuting, or even defending someone, having their own biases, making their own uninformed conclusions, etc. We get into people being wrongfully convicted. And a lot of times these are based on false accusations, which create false narratives, which people in today's world seem to just accept over the truth. And I've highlighted over the years the different people. For example, Koresh from Waco, Texas, Mr. Weaver from Ruby Ridge, also people like Daniel Holtzclaw, former police officer, and Stephen Avery is another one that I've also highlighted. And then there's a couple others that for some reason there seems to be some controversy about, but I will state you have Bill Cosby and even O.J. Simpson as examples of innocent people being persecuted either by the courts or, for example, with Simpson's case, being persecuted by the people who lack critical thinking skills and extensive knowledge base and making decisions on emotions. And it's quite interesting how on all these cases, and there's countless of other innocent people convicted, and I've stated, and I've even shown in older videos, how more than 50% of people convicted of anything are innocent. Think about it. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, you know, that's an exaggeration. No, it's not an exaggeration. I've cited sources from this, so it's not just a theory, opinion, belief, or want, personal fiction of mine. This is the reality that we live in. And when you look at, for example, false accusations, where even through documentation from official sources, for example, police and so forth, more than 75% of false accusations are false. And we see such a rise with these types of things more and more. And then when you start incorporating social justice into this, and the whole world has just gone upside down and backwards. And most people don't want to accept that the very system that they live under is dysfunctional. And I remember one time, and I'm not going to get into any particulars, but I remember one time working in the government environment where someone had said, well, if people only knew how dysfunctional things were, they would completely lose trust. And I remember just like smiling, nodding my head, going, yep. But anyway, I digress. But most people, and I'm just going to segue for a moment here, because when you look at a lot of these false accusations and stuff, that ties into with busybodies, which I've covered extensively over the years, who stick their nose in other people's business, making uninformed conclusions, pointing the finger at someone, and then things get escalated to the point where at times even someone is, I'm trying to wordcraft here, taken from life through, for example, police. And everyone points the finger saying, oh, you know, look at the police. How, well, yeah, there are times where they go crazy for whatever reason, the individuals involved, but also sometimes they're reacting based on the information that's given to them, and they don't know any better. They're just assuming that the busybody who called something in was being accurate, and things get out of hand. So, I mean, and this all kind of relates to my story. But when you really look at the common person, the commoner, and how they think and do things, and they're reactive and all this other stuff, and I just thinking about comments in a recent video that I've been reading about someone who was actually innocent, who got off, and people still think that they're guilty, and he tried to explain to them, no, it was actually someone else who confessed and everything else. Well, and then they start ridiculing and calling me names and everything else for whatever reason. These are the same people in today's world, in today's society, that would have chosen Barabbas back then. People haven't changed. People are still the same. Anyway, that's all I want to say. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. And I would also like to, mumble that one, offering some, I would like to say, I'm having a hard time.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, when is it going to get easier? When you die.